And now, more KGAB Mornings with Gary Freeman on AM 650 KGAB.
Hey, good morning, Cheyenne and surrounding areas. Glad to have you back on Cheyenne's #1 news talk radio station, AM 650 KGAB and KGAB.com. Still 27 degrees, and I'll tell you, it's still dropping flurries. It's just going to be a yucky day, folks, so you might as well, if you don't have to get out in it, don't. Just curl up with a good book and maybe watch an old John Wayne rerun or something. I don't know. But if you are out in it, make sure you dress warm because it's going to be like that for the next few days. Rain, snow showers, and wind coming to the capital city. And, of course, there is a high wind warning in effect until tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Well, we know that we can not only smell snow in the air and other things in the air, but we can also smell some of the political stuff that's going on in the air. And our very next guest today is someone who is running for Laramie County Commissioner, Mrs. Linda Heath. Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
Good morning, Gary.
All right, so you are making another run at this.
Yes, I am. We had several people ask me again after the election in 2012 if I was going to run again in 2 years. I had hoped that it would be 4 years, but ended up with 2, and so I'm back, and that support is still there. A lot of people are looking forward to the run for this year's
and when
campaign.
you lost last time, it was by a fairly thin margin.
It was less than 1% in the primary, so we just hope that support remains strong and going into this election. Am I assuming a victory? No. You still have to work.
And who are your competitors this time, as far as people that are already on the board versus people that just want to run, or on the commission rather?
The seats that are open will be, or that are up for election, are Troy Thompson, Emily Hassenauer, and Diane Humphrey. Diane has announced that she will not be running, so that is an open seat. And with politics, you hear a lot of rumors. It runs on rumors, feeds on rumors. Mm-hmm. So to say that I know of anybody else that's running for sure, I'm not going to say anything.
Right, and it'll probably open up here before long. So you've got Commissioner Troy Thompson, you have Emily Hassenauer, Commissioner Diane Humphreys. Their seats are basically up for the run, and so you know at least 2 people that you may be debating before it's all said and done.
At least 2, yeah.
And what are some of the things that you would like to do, maybe that you've seen lacking in the county? I mean, for the most part, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate how the commission's done so far? And what are some of the things you would do to change some things or improve, whichever?
I think one of the things that I have seen with the county commission in the last year, I've continued to go to the meetings. I started doing this prior to the 2012 primary, and I've continued to go to the meetings. And what I see is there's 5 distinct different personalities on that board, and they don't always see eye to eye, and sometimes they get into some discussions that prove to be rather interesting as they iron out their differences, but they still are working to move forward. Sometimes it's been a little rockier than others, but sometimes it ends up working out pretty smooth. But I think the discussion that they have on the board right now is healthy, in that it brings in differing viewpoints, and they're watching things, I think, a lot closer with the 5 than what they were before. So that's a positive that I would see, and I'd like to continue that relationship with the other commissioners.
Would you say that in this healthy conversation that the commission is listening to one another, or are they just kind of, let me get my say in part of this discussion?
I think they are listening to each other and weighing each other's opinions, and I think there's a way to approach it, and to approach it in a way that is healthy rather than being unhealthy. And to come in with an ideology and say, this is what I'm going to do, and devil be darned if you don't go along with me, that's not going to work, because you've still got 4 other people that may not see things quite the way you do. And there's got to be some give and take. In a family, they don't always get along either, but you can't rule with an iron fist either.
Right. Let's take a phone call. Good morning. You are on with a candidate running for Laramie County Commissioner, Linda Heath. It's your turn.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for your program. Good morning, Ms. Heath.
Good morning.
I would like to know if you support Plan Cheyenne for the city and for the community. And I know when you were running last time that you made a comment that you believe that it's necessary to sacrifice private property for the good of the local economy. I'm real strong on private property rights, so I'd like to have your comment on that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Plan Cheyenne basically is a city plan. It is affecting only the zoned areas around Cheyenne and a small buffer zone outside of that. It does not affect the majority of Laramie County. I support good planning, common sense planning. There may be some things in there that we need to be examining and looking at in the future as we go down the road and Cheyenne continues to grow, that we can say, hey, this doesn't fit us. And
what are some of the things
that.
specifically that that you think we should be examining on it?
I think the county commissioners did a real good job of going through with the amendments and making some of the changes. There were some things in there that they were that the plan maybe was too strict on. It said we will do this, and rather than we shall, or this, make it more of an option for the plan. And I think they did a wonderful job at going through with those amendments. And I'll give Buck Holmes and Amber Ash and Troy Thompson some real big kudos on that, because they worked real hard on that together. And they took input from the community on that in making those changes. The question was asked on the property rights. I'm still a strong supporter on property rights. But I do also know that when we start looking at property rights, we have to look at public safety versus just someone's want. Sometimes the public safety has to override the want, and if it becomes a public safety issue on a property rights issue, then we have to rule for the majority on public safety.
All right, let's take another phone call. Good morning. It's your turn.
How you doing, Gary?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Good morning. You have a question for Miss Linda Heath?
Yeah, I was just curious if Miss Heath supports giving tax dollars away to major corporations like Magpul, i.e. bribing them to move here.
All right, great question. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a very good question. It's one that's being hotly debated all over the state. It's not just Magpul. There's a park up around Thermopolis right now where there's some big questions as to whether or not the state should be getting involved and putting that kind of money into that particular park. According to the Constitution, what I have read, and I know that there are those out there that will say, no, this is not right, but from what I have read, the ground has been laid for several years to allow for this kind of investment. In fact, in 1986, an amendment was passed by the voters of the state of Wyoming to the Constitution that allows for public money to be invested towards economic development and private institutions.
All right, we're talking with Linda Heath. She is a candidate for Laramie County Commissioner. If you have a question for her, you can call us at 632-6500 or 632-3323. We're going to take a quick break, come back to more of your phone calls, and to hear more from candidate for Laramie County Commissioner Linda Heath. We'll be back.
You're listening to KGAB Mornings with Gary Freeman on AM 650 KGAB.
And good morning, 9:24 is your time. We are in studio with candidate for Laramie County Commissioner Linda Heath, and we're going to go right back to the phones. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning. Thank you very much for taking my call.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Best wishes on your run, Linda.
Thank you.
I am very curious if you read the article in the paper yesterday in regards to what is in your water, and how familiar you are with the polluting of the trichloroethylide that is in the water stream feeding the city, of which they're cleaning out from the Belvoir Ranch.
I haven't spent a lot of time studying or reading up on the issue with the Belvoir Ranch and the water out there. I apologize for that. You were talking basically about the water that's coming or that's being contaminated by the chemicals from the missile sites out there. Anytime that we have issues with that, it's something that we need to be concerned about. Whether or not the county is actually going to have a huge hand in that, I don't know that the county will. This is a federal issue, and I'm they've got the pocket with the money in it in order to deal with it. They just have to figure out how to deal with it, and they don't know for sure yet.
All right, let's take another phone call. Good morning.
Well, I think we got disconnected.
Oh, okay. You had another question?
I just think that it is not just a federal issue. The federal government is not cleaning it up, and the Army Corps of Engineers really needs some pressure put on them. And as a county commissioner, my next question would be, what kind of support do you think you would lend a project like that? Because if the federal government decides not to clean it up, it's going to be a county and city issue and cause our water rates to go extremely high. So I guess I just would encourage you, if you are elected or while you're running, to become familiar with this issue, because it is going to be a hot topic.
I will try and do that.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for the phone call. 632-6500 or 632-3323 if you would like to be on KGAB Mornings with Linda Heath. Looking out here on the website, and Commissioner Emily Hausenauer says, I will always represent the will of the people. As a commissioner, how do you differentiate between what's the will of a few and the will of many, and how do you collectively put it all together?
That's an interesting question. To represent the will of the people and to do what is right. Sometimes doing what is right is not the most popular thing, and you will find those that will be the very vocal objectors to what you do, that you and your mind you feel is right. As far as I'm concerned, if elected, I will serve everyone in the county, regardless of political persuasion, regardless of your religion, regardless of your gender, which means that I will be listening to all of the residents of Laramie County and not just a vocal few.
All right, let's go back to the phones. It's your turn.
Hi, it's Charlie. I just want Linda's opinion, her view on this. The role of government on private property rights, i.e. the putting up of a building, putting up a fence, putting up trees. Just want to know what her opinion. Thanks.
As far as the county is concerned, we're not telling you what kind of building that you have to put up or where you have to plant trees or anything like that. I don't think it's really the place of government to do that. At the same time, I also know that there are times when perhaps putting up a building in a certain location may actually create a visual hazard for traffic, and so you might have to push it back and make some adjustments with your plan. You may have to make a smaller building. I think we all have to work together on this. It's not something where you can just blanket statement say, because I have property, I can do whatever I want with it. Because regardless of what you do with your property, you will affect the property of your neighbor. And, they may not enjoy looking at what you put up. They may not enjoy looking at your fence, and it may spoil the view that they have, perhaps of the mountains or a prairie or something like that. So we have to also take into consideration the enjoyment of our neighbor's property as well.
All right, we got time. You got about 15 seconds for your question, caller. Go ahead.
Well, I've got a question on the property rights, because I've talked to you in person before, and you scare me to death, because I think you are for big government. I think you're for control over other people's property, regardless of whatever. And I don't want you to get in, to be honest with you. I will do everything I can to keep you from that, because I've talked to you, and you're for taking other people's stuff, whatever the rights are, it doesn't matter. And I hope you don't get in. Nothing personal.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Well, as with running for office, you're not going to be popular with everyone, but are you for big government?
No. I'm for limited government. There is a place for government, and if men were all perfect and men were angels, we wouldn't need government, but sadly men are no longer angels, and they never have been. So we do need to have government. We do need to have laws. But am I for big government? No, I am not for big government and never have been.
All right, Linda Heath, running for Laramie County Commissioner. Thanks for checking in today on KGAB Mornings, Linda. We appreciate your time, and best to you on your campaign, whatever that may entail.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, we'll be back after this with some open line time. Take some of your calls as we wrap it up for the day. Good morning.
Explore the unexplained. Coast to Coast AM, late nights on AM 650 KGAB.
And 9:40 is your time here on a very cold and blustery day here in the capital city. Well, like I said, don't get too excited when you see the sunshine coming out, because the clouds are coming back and now it's dropping white stuff. Where are you, spring? Spring saying, I'm here, just in a different form. If you want to be on the program today, 632-6500 or 632-3323. Lots to talk about today. We've been talking about the pipeline. Of course, we have talked about right to life. We have also had Linda Heath come in. So let's take some of your phone calls right now. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning, Gary. This is Barry.
Barry, what's happening, sir?
Well, doing good. You know, one of the things that really concerned me about Linda Heath is the things I didn't hear. I didn't hear the Constitution. I didn't hear the Founding Fathers. I really believe that if she was really passionate about it, as it is said, out of the heart the mouth speaks. And I really believe that if she was really passionate for we the people, as the Constitution says, she would say those things out of her heart and not something that's just conveyed out there. And I agree with the other caller. I don't agree with her being in.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
You know, where it comes to the Founding Fathers and property rights, just having a discussion, what would it be if we were to go back actually to the founding with the knowledge that we have now? Not that we would be taking property rights away, but how would we have planned our nation differently knowing what we know now? Just a thought. Good morning. It's your turn.
I just wanted to make a comment. I think it should be pointed out that when we were going through that time with Plan Cheyenne and the county was considering that and there was a lot going on, one organization that was against that was the Southside Development Association. And I think it should be pointed out that Linda Heath used to be on that board, and she was actually voted off of that because the Southside Development Association was not in favor of Plan Cheyenne, but she was. Mm-hmm. And that's why she's no longer on that board. And so I think that needs to be pointed out because, you know, we really need someone in the county, another person in the county that's really going to stand up for what the people want and stand up for property rights. And, you know, I know that she made a comment, well, sometimes we need to, we need to have order and sometimes on our property we may need to, you know, because of visibility and things, we have to follow certain rules. And I don't think anybody has a problem with those things. But when it really comes down to it, we need someone that's really going to defend our property rights, and not just property, but just do the right thing. And that was really telling to me when a member of the board had told me that she was voted off because she was at odds with what they wanted. And I think that needs to be brought out.
All right.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for calling in. Good morning. It's your turn.
Hey, good morning, Barry. Eric here.
Hey, Eric. What's happening,
hey,
Mr. Miller?
Hey, what I heard anyway on the radio is that all the congratulations went out to Amber Ash, Buck Holmes, and Troy Thompson. Yeah. And I have a question to ask. Right? When they were crafting up those amendments, how come Emily was not included in that, even though he voted for the amendments?
Yeah, I think you'd have to ask them about it. Unfortunately, I was not at the commission meeting, but I think it's a valid question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, and the other thing, when it comes down to obstructing views, how come no one's complaining about putting up all these big, ugly windmills? I mean, Wyoming used to have a beautiful landscape in certain areas, but now look at it.
I hear you. Well, and thanks, Eric, for the call. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, and, not only that, but what about the birds? How many birds are getting knocked out of the sky because of these windmills? Anyway, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
You know what? I am doing wonderful with this bipolar weather that we're having. Now the sun's coming out. Then it goes away. Then we get snow.
I have a sense of confusion about what's going on in general terms in Cheyenne and in Laramie County.
Okay.
As it relates to the water situation. I see on one hand a group of people who, like leagues and the mayor and the city council and even to some degree the governor of the state going after companies to come and bring their manufacturing here. The gun company out of Denver, for instance, and the expansion now of the data center and so forth, and offering them tax relief and one thing and another, bidding against other states so that they'll come here. And I understand that, because the more people we have and the more industry we have here and more people employed, the more furniture you'll sell and bread you'll sell and everything else. And for me to believe that Cheyenne is not going to grow in some measure over the years would be idiotic, because it will. But on the other hand, I have another group of people here, and some of them are mixed up, that say we've got a shortage of water. And consequently, we have to ration, we have to control how much water you use to water your lawns, the people who live here. Now, those two ideas are mutually exclusive. Either we have all the water we need to support and underwrite other people to come here and use the water, or we have a water shortage and we need the controls. Now, if we have a water shortage, then we ought to rein back these people who are trying to bring in all these people to use water that we don't have. If we have all the water that we need, then I expect at the next council meeting, the council will rescind the order controlling how much water we can use on our lawn. But you can't have both. These are mutually exclusive. Either we got too much, all the water we need, or we don't have all the water we need. And somebody needs to put these two things together and address it as an individual thing as it relates to Cheyenne and to the county of Laramie.
All right, thanks for the phone call today. Yeah, I think I may know where he's going. You know, as far as season-wise, we're very high up as far as the snow caps. As far as water levels for April, we're down. But overall, we're very high, but yet it seems like they are still regulating water to basically it's going to be normal, on a day, off a day, on a day, off a day. So pretty valid point. And I've heard that argument, too, that the more people you bring in, if we don't have enough water, then eventually we may end up having a problem there. But that is yet to be seen so far. Let's take another call. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning. Wyoming was recently rated the most conservative state in the country by a wide margin, and it was a middle-of-the-road publication that put it out. So when you hear a politician in Wyoming hemming and hawing, when you ask them a specific question like we heard a little while ago about Plan Cheyenne, and they don't come out vociferously and give the Wyoming point of view, you know that they're on the other side, because if they were to agree with us, they would say it vociferously. They would say it without exception, instead of trying to get the vote from the other gang. So I can smell them a mile away when they pivot and try to change the subject on you and really not answer your question.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for your call, and thanks for your observation and sharing that here on KGAB Mornings. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of your phone calls right after this. Yeah, 9:50 is your time here this morning on a bipolar Tuesday here in the capital city. Sunshine, snow, wind, all kinds of crazy stuff, but we do have a wind advisory in effect until tomorrow at 8 o'clock, or tonight, rather. Why do I keep thinking today's Monday? I'll bet some of you are shaking your head going, what do you mean tomorrow, Tuesday? Today is Tuesday, so till 8 o'clock tonight. Anyway, let's go back to the phone, 632-6500 and 632-3323. Find out what's on your mind. It's your turn. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, that's you, sir.
Yes, I would like to know why Linda Heath was only there until 9:30. Why did she leave early?
She didn't leave early. She left right on time.
Well, couldn't you have held her over so we could hear some more of what she had to say? I just wish that would have happened, and that's my comment.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, as far as people that are running, we're giving them about within a 30-minute window. That keeps it fair for everyone. If she wants to come back maybe a little bit later on, we'll do that. But for right now, with the political season in full swing, and depending on who wants to be on the program, we're trying to met it out, make it even. It's still very, very early. There's going to be lots of debates, lots of time to ask questions. But I do appreciate your comment, and I am very mindful of that. But that is, in part, the reason why we only had her on for that 30 minutes. And I am going to try to book them at the top of the hour going down, because I think it does give them a little bit more time. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. It's your turn.
Yeah, calling back in just because it's a different topic, but what the gentleman just called and said he wanted to hear more of what she had to say. You basically heard everything she has to say. And she is for big government. I know this for a fact. She is for taking our property rights at will.
Just for the education of the public, give us some points to where you think the way that you do, or in your experience, I should say, what you've heard or seen her do to bring you to that conclusion, just for the education of the audience.
Well, like one person called and said she was voted off the board of South Cheyenne Community Development, and I know that because I'm on the board. And she was voted off because she did have a differing opinion, and it was even, I think, more than that.
Let me ask you real quick, sorry to interrupt you, but I really want to know. For people that, and I was down there in part on the south side of the city, just showing support for the south side folks. For those that were not there, what were some of the ideologies that you had or the board had as a board member? And since you're on the board, I appreciate you calling. And what were some of her opposing views that caused her dismissal from the board?
Well, I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But it's with the South Cheyenne Community Development Association is for the South Side. When I first went there and joined, I asked them who here lives here or works here. She didn't, and I didn't know why she was there. I'd seen her when she was running before. She was on Dave Chafin's show, and she was on there talking about going into people's houses and properties and cleaning them up because she didn't like the way it looked. And you know what? Every man's house is a castle. As long as my neighbor's stuff doesn't spill over into my yard, I really have no right to say anything, unless it's a hazardous waste thing. But if he puts up a shed or he does a fence or whatever, good for him. God love him. It makes your property values more. Okay? But I don't like going around telling other people what to do. I had a guy down the way who lives from me, and he had a bunch of stuff. He was scrapping. And I said, listen, I stopped in and introduced myself. I said, I see what you're doing. I have no problem with it as long as you put a fence up. Okay? I put a fence around our 2 acres, and so people aren't bothered by whatever I do because I collect stuff. I'm a collector, a restorer of vehicles and this and that and the other thing. And I told him, I said, I'd be happy to help you build your fence. You know, I'll help you dig the holes and put it in so you don't get hassled, and you can live your life the way you want to do it. And I think that's the way it should be. But there's a lot of Budinskis who get into local government who want to just go be do-gooders and messing with everybody in the county. And I don't like that.
All right. Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you. And I would say that if somebody, hey, no problem. If you want to be on the program, we got a little bit of time left, 632-6500. Very lively discussion this morning concerning property rights and elected officials that may be coming in with one appearance but then vote another way. This is kind of a funny analogy, a little, and I do say it in a jest, but getting back to the last caller's call about somebody building a fence that might block my view. Well, if he's got a right to build a fence to block his view, then I should have the right to add another story onto my house. I know that sounds ridiculous, but made me kind of smile. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning. I thoroughly enjoy your program every morning.
Thank you, ma'am.
But one of the things that I would like to say, a statement the man made previously, one of the things that has happened in my neighborhood, that they can come in on your property and then cut down any plant that you have. They can take anything you've got on your property off. And it used to not be that way. Your property was your property. And what one person may not understand that, okay, a good example, if you've got a bird bath and you have it up in the summertime and the spring so that birds can have a resource available for them.
Yeah.
And then you take it down in the wintertime, you just take it apart and you turn it upside down. It comes apart, or mine did. It came apart, in different pieces.
Uh-huh.
And I just took it apart and turned it upside down and put it right there in the flower bed where it went right side up in the summertime. But the city can come through and they can take that away. Just like they can come in and they can cut down your plants. Because I paid for a perennial plant. I paid over $20 for one perennial plant and put it in my flower bed so that the birds let it get accustomed to the soil. And then the next year I had planned to take it apart and, scatter it all over the different areas of my flower bed. Well, the city can come through and then cut that down and then take it.
Well, thanks for your phone call. I need to get on to somebody else, but definitely birds need water in the winter. And, you think the city would have enough decency to knock on somebody's door and say, hey, this, that, or the other, or whatever, rather than just doing it. That's just like they broke open over there on McCann and Pershing. They busted into the sewage drainage. They started blowing a bunch of junk out, and I've had sewage problems at the church ever since. Of course, they won't pick up the bill, but we will pick up the phone again. Good morning. It's your turn.
Yes, good morning. I apologize for my second call, but if you want things pristine where you live, then you better pick a place where you can buy the property around you, because people are going to build. They're going to do things that maybe you're not in favor of, but they have bought and paid taxes on that property.
That's right.
It's their property.
That's right.
Thank you a lot.
No,
Bye-bye.
we appreciate the call, and that's true. And that kind of kumbayas with the other caller. If it's going to be something like nuclear waste, or let's say somebody's burning trash or something, and it's not, personally, I don't know where we draw the line on this, because I do know that some people burn trash. For years, we used to burn trash in this country. But now with the advent of having it picked up, or, just having a bonfire in the backyard, trash really stinks. But again, people have bought and paid for their property. If they want to build a fence on it, and just because it blocks my view, does that constitute a county commissioner or the city coming in and saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman, but you cannot build this fence here because you want privacy, because your neighbor next door is not going to be able to see the mountain range or whatever. And maybe we don't have as much of that problem here. I understand that is an illustration. I don't know how live fire it is, but I really would like to hear from some of the folks that want Plan Cheyenne. Recently out on KGAB.com on our Facebook page, it was posted out there because there is seemingly a swaying form of opinion between wanting bike trails and not wanting bike trails in the state of Wyoming. And somebody posted a negative to the bike trail, and somebody else said, we use it all the time. So where do we go from there? Well, I don't know, but we will be back here tomorrow at 6 o'clock to meet with you. Stay warm, folks. Stay warm and have a wonderful day. Rush Limbaugh coming up next. And as always, thanks for being with us. So long for now.
KGAB Orchard Valley, Cheyenne. A Wyo Preps radio station and the home of KGAB Mornings with Gary Freeman, AM 650.